Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late again to my own party. And it's no wonder there's, y'all take your time showing up yourselves because, well, I'm the host and I'm late. So this hat is so, like, what you call it? This hat is very deformed, frankly. That's the problem. So, like, I need to figure out which way to wear it so it frames my face instead of just looking weird. I don't know. I don't like that. ah. Anyways, there. That's nice, right? There. That's better. How is everybody's week? How's everybody's Wednesday going? Doing pretty good over here. Um, yeah. Just kind of waiting for peeps to come and talk to me now, I guess. What's up? Happy Wednesday. What up, Philological? What did you think of the video? Oh, and you wrote a song? That's exciting. That's fun. Like, no joke. I used to do that all the time. My week has been awesome. I got another extension on my thesis, so I'm way less stressed. That is good. When is this one till? And like, I have a couple of friends who've been through grad school, so I know that's just kind of standard. They just sort of let you finish the shit at that point, right? Like, oh. My little carry bag got wet. Ooh, September. Nice. So you got all summer. Cool. Oh, pretty good. Actually worked through a couple of long-standing personal things. So, unfortunately, I can't super talk about them, but, like, I'm good, you know? Oh, and I have some idea what I'm doing for writing day on Friday. So, what up, Scott? Sorry, I'm late for my own party again. I know I don't want that to become a habit. I swear. How are you this morning? What were you watching before you hopped on here? What did you think of the video? What did you guys think of the video? Like, for real. My daughter said she really liked this one, so that's cool. That's always a good endorsement to get, right? There was a whole lot in the thing that I responded to. I feel like it was just rapid fire. I mean, it's one long gish gallop, really, like I was talking about last week. Thank you. I was particularly interested in your take about the thing on the plow. Like, was I reaching in that implication there? That was what they were implying, right? I was surprised to see that. And I learned a couple of things making this video, like a bit about the history of the word man in English. I didn't know that. Catch me yesterday researching Aztec farming methods. Like, what? At the end, when you said the interaction between biology and personality, the long, complex discussion, I thought you were about to tell people to come talk about it in the live. Well, we are. That's what it's for. I should have. I'm working out my pattern. I'm not what you might call a natural performer. So, good call, though. Good take. I was watching the second Hobbit movie where Bilbo Baggins meets the dragon. Wait. They saved that for the end of the set. What happens in the... you know what? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. That's like 90% of the way through the book. So what the fuck do they put in the third? I don't want to know. Please do not answer that question for me. Please do not tell me that. I don't want to know. I straight up don't. Anyway, so what do you think about that? Gender and sex being like this, personality. I think in general, your psyche is like a feedback loop where you're constantly sort of, you do where, Judith Butler has a germ of truth there, where you do sort of create yourself through your experiences, right? Especially as a younger person while you're developing, as a developing person. There's a grain of truth to that. And that the self is an ephemeral thing, right? Which, considering it's about all we got, the fact that it can shift violently throughout your lifetime is pretty terrifying, right? Your sense of yourself can suddenly shift violently out from underneath you, and that's scary. I used to think that biology played very little role in personality, but medical transition changed my mind on that. Right. And you have a very interesting take on that because your experience is very, to my observation anyway, unique, right? Which, like, if there's 8 billion whatever people on the planet, like, okay, there's going to be some variations there. Okay, I can roll with that. That doesn't surprise me at all. We shouldn't be surprised by that. I used to think biology played very little role in personality, and then I became a parent, mother specifically, And you have two choices when you find yourself running along familiar lines, if you know what I'm saying. You can either just reject it outright, or you can take a look at it and go, wait a minute, is this actually logical, though? Like, was I misinformed? YouTube ad interruption already? I'm so sorry. Thank you for sitting through that. That means we probably won't get another one for an hour. That's because I started late. Sorry. But we're like halfway to a payout. I'm going to have like $50 in there. You got to have $100 added, accumulated before it'll pay you out. And I'll be like halfway to a payout by the end of the day for sure. So it's progress. Thank you so much for, hanging with me. I tried to make it worth your while, But so it's not just situational. It's also my reaction to a given situation. Would, I found, sometimes be a very womanish reaction to stuff. And this wasn't just since I was a mother, but it became impossible to deny then, Because let me tell you, acting out the scripts from what my mom would have done is not that. That's not what that was. For me, that was two distinctly different things. Like, it was pretty easy. Maybe I have that as an advantage in a weird way. It was very easy for me to separate my maternal instinct from what my mom would do. Because they were often very not the same thing. Gender is both biological and sociological. Sex is biological. Yeah, right. Exactly. And where is the line? And we're never, ever going to figure that out. That's right. It's very frustrating. When I get my first proper job, I'm going to join the channel and buy a t-shirt. Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Thank you. We're just chugging along. You guys, I didn't even think about this. They flagged my video for limited ad suitability, I think, because it has sexy in the title. Which it's just a pun. Like, it's my fault for making a bad pun, I guess. I knew that was dicey. Oh my goodness. And I was watching something before I came on here about the cast review and the reception of that over there. Like, to say nothing of the fact that the American media is saying nothing. Like, when I saw the title, I thought it was going to be some HEP nonsense, like my gender is horny or something. A cold May morning over there. It was a cold May morning here, but it's warming up now. The sun's come out, so there's hope for you yet. Maybe. It is Washington, so who knows? No. Like I say, it's a pun, because I was having difficulty thinking of a title for it, honestly, because I just said, my working title I had all day yesterday was essentially PBS doesn't know what sex is. Or PBS thinks gender is farming or something like that. Like, yeah, the cast review is a very interesting one. I've not read through all of it, but I hear the author is mad that people are misinterpreting it. Well, of course she is. But of course they are. It's still cold there? Yeah. But it's early in the day there, is what I'm saying. So perhaps there's hope yet. No, and I was really surprised. Like I pretty much knew what I was in for with the PBS. It's like, I don't know if you're British, maybe you don't know. PBS for decades specialized in educational programming for young people specifically, but also in general. You gotta start doing turf rhetoric with the algorithm friendly adaptations, like we're fighting the seg for segs based rights. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're already writing a thesis, so I feel like it would be cruel to ask you to like jot some stuff down for me on that, because like I have not been up on the lingo since they kicked me off of Reddit 5, 6 years, 8 years, whatever that was, a long time ago. Okay. So I will never forget. I hope I never forget the time, like a couple of months ago, when somebody came along and dubbed me an Uber turf. And I was like, oh, that sounds great, I guess. Thanks. I don't, and then y'all were talking last week about how that became toxic really quick. And, or, it's like a lot of the turf channels on here, like they get together and they don't invite me, which is okay because I don't have money to go anyway. But like, apparently those club meetings were like super toxic anyway. So yikes. Oh, that's the only one I know. Plus unalive. It's something the kids say these days are saying. Right. Yeah. No, I understand. See, and it's really not so much what you don't say in the title in my experience. It's what you do. You want to get some good keywords in there. And I thought sexy would get people's attention. And I was right. It's just not the kind of attention I thought it, I don't know. Again, I'm not a publicist. Okay. Because these kids just spend all their days on TikTok. So they start talking like the content creators trying to stay algorithm friendly. It creeps me out, honestly. Yeah. That's just linguistic slide, isn't it? Or whatever you'd call that, where, a new word then becomes the regular word, then becomes the bad word, then becomes the old word, right? Like, and this cycle has just sped up exponentially in the last couple of decades, I think. Where you can literally tell sometimes what year something was made by the wordage that they use. How exactly did the phrase "get thrown under the bus" become the last bit of lingo we all collectively randomly picked up and decided to keep? I was actually pondering that the other day for no reason. Because I hate that phrase. That came from the 2016 election, I think it was. All of a sudden, everybody was using that. And it's just kind of stuck. And, like, for some reason, that phrase, like, why that one? Why is that the last one we all collectively decided to keep permanently? It's evocative. I'll give them that. Oh. It's not like a mirror. This is so confusing to me because it's backwards. I see some young American women speaking with the TikTok robot voice inflections, and it terrifies me. As Americans? Okay. I had encountered that phenomenon in people who did not speak English as their first language, learning to speak English that way, which is terrifying. But, like, if you're American, you know better. You know better. What? Like it's trendy or something, and then they're going to, oh my God. No. The terrifying thing of that is, 5 years later when they teach the baby to talk that way. Okay, because the affectation of the adult is the genuine behavior of the child. Okay, that's when it starts to really get terrifying. Right. Yeah. again, I just, I can't help but think that way. That's just my perspective now. And it's what I was saying about, I think that's experience, honestly. But like, seriously, there have been moments in my life when I felt like a purebred dog who had all of a sudden been let outside for the first time, and had all these ideas and like sensations start rushing through my mind, and like stuff starts clicking into place. And I'm just like, wait a minute. What, I found myself leaning in directions over time that I just would never. Domestic things, parenting things. Like, I don't know. It's just the kind of thing that, like, none of this cascade of stuff would have been started in the first place if I hadn't had my first son. Well, I mean, I'm sure if I've had another kid. But, when I had my first son, that's when this all... I think it's easy not to realize how influential biology it is until you experience a change in it. Yes, very much so. Which is one of the things we were saying last week about how for most men, I think it is easier for them to ignore it. Because you only have one kind of framework or reference. Right, yeah. And it's like always wearing tinted glasses, right? One sort of shaded tint. So you just get used to it. You just see through it. Until you take it off or put on a different color. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa. And it's like you didn't choose to do that. It's like everything just kind of changes and you just kind of have to live with it, right? Oh. And that can really mess with your sense of yourself. And like I say, I think female culture is an interesting, like it's a different perspective. It just is. It is. I to degrees, But I did love how that PBS video, they were just like example after example of, gender bending, trying to imply within an inch of their lives that there's more than two sexes. And why? That begs the question. Why? Why? Why would an educational institution, why would anyone go to all that trouble to work so hard to imply that there are more than two sexes? And, I think you guys nailed it during the chat. I think you did. To let the white guys off the hook. I mean, it's just so funny because she takes it right there to their funny linguistic trick they pulled right around the end of the Enlightenment, right? And I thought that was such bullshit at first. I'm like, what do you mean the word man used to actually refer to all people? Like, what? When was that? About 1,000 years ago. Come to find. Imply. Yeah, that's the key word. I find it such a cowardly way of making points. Just say what you believe. They can't. Because it's bullshit. And they know it. Which reminds me of what I was hearing about the cast review. Was this woman was talking about... Gosh, I think she's a London mayoral candidate now. But she was talking about how they didn't want to... Or was that Helen Joyce? I think that was Helen Joyce, who was really harping on the fact that they did not want to hand over the files for the adults who had been the children that grew up and went through all that. Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry, but that just pisses me off so much. Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely frustrating to try and argue with someone who's speaking in that manner. There are only two sexual gametes in nature. It's been this way for the past 2 billion years. That's enormous. There's enormous variance and variety, but there's still only two sexual gametes. Right. Well, and it's like I had some difficulty explaining as I have to workshop this stuff out loud. So I'm talking to my kids about it. I'm talking to my husband about it. Okay. And like, I'm having a little difficulty trying to explain how it is that an exception proves the rule rather than destroying it, because this isn't math. Okay. This is philosophy. This is social science. So like, and I finally came down to my son. I said like, okay, I'm going to do that every day except Sunday. Now try and have just that last part and have it make any damn sense. Except Sunday. That doesn't make any damn sense. What except Sunday? You have to have the category before the exception makes any damn sense. When people cite these incredibly misogynistic Greek philosophers saying that women don't exist and soybeans all over, like, oh my God. Right, no, yeah. And then she discredited him 2 sentences later. Which, like, I'm still trying to convince myself I imagined that. That was so weird. I'm like, girlfriend had one take on that script, and I don't think she got to read it beforehand. Right? Like, that video felt like it was just slapped together. Yes, that woman you had on an hour ago was letting white men off the hook. It was almost as if she was showing her love and devotion to white male oppressors. Right, and they got a black woman out there to say that shit, and it just makes me so mad. Right? Because she's just game, right? She's just there to get her bag, right? She's just trying to do her damn job. And that was the assignment that they gave her that day, right? She didn't write that shit. It read like she didn't write it. It read like she hadn't read it, right? That was what came across to me. That was her first read through, and it's an excellent cold read. She has excellent cold reading abilities. And that's the main thing I got from that. Okay. And it didn't occur to me until I was like halfway through editing it that like a lot of white people have a what you call it, hang up where like they've been conditioned not to argue with black people. I don't know if everybody knows that. Maybe this is just an American thing. But this is a real phenomenon. And I think that's part of the reason they chose her. Okay? Is because that right there is going to shut a lot of people up. But she did. She was implying that, okay, so the white conquerors imposed their gender roles upon the indigenous people. So what? They made all those brown women dress up in frilly dresses and go inside? Fuck no, they didn't. What are you serious? No, they do. They made them work in the fields just alongside their manfolk. What the fuck? What? Oh, that made me so mad. And I almost missed that one. I don't know if you noticed. That's like an editing Sarah clip. For sure, when someone with melanated skin starts claiming that pre-colonial indigenous cultures were super transpositive, most white liberals just smile and nod. Exactly. And the thing most people don't know about me is I grew up in a black neighborhood. I didn't even really think about that, like I say, until I was deep in the production of this thing. I mean, I noticed she was a black woman, obviously, and that just offends the shit out of me for reasons we've just discussed. But that should handicap me. And it just doesn't in that way. I just don't have that. I don't know. I grew up in a black neighborhood. I went to a black high school. And when I say black, I mean like 90+% African-American population of my high school. Okay. So I don't react that way. I don't know. And then I lived in that neighborhood half my life. Like, I don't. There's some things that black people have to argue and work out with each other. It's the only way they'll ever be able to reach any kind of consensus and work together to solve a problem. Yeah. But it goes back to that old, idiom of, how to save your marriage. Does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? Does this need to be said by me right now? And if the answer to all three of those questions is no, then you don't say anything. Okay. It applies to many things. Okay. I find it almost colonialist, like the insistence that pre-colonial indigenous cultures conveniently shared all the values of these post-colonial liberal Westerners in this present day. Right. Well, like the more this is spinning in my head, the more I'm thinking like we might be onto something here. White men had to teach black and brown men patriarchy. That's not racist. I've never understood. Thank you. It is. Of course. And it's, of course, bullshit. The idea that brown men didn't come up with that idea. Of course. What? It's extremely racist. And I just, but it lets them off the hook. I mean, it's of course it's racist because who does it benefit? Who does it benefit? The white men who should be on the hook for all of this shit, right? We're just gonna, I don't know, that somehow by paying lip service to rejecting that ideology, because need we remind ourselves that capitalism Colonialism was about capitalism, right? So we can pat ourselves on the back for, rejecting the racism and rejecting the xenophobia and the homophobia and all that stuff. But we're still maintaining the system that built the damn thing in the first place. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of this project is all of a sudden starting to make more sense to me. On a grand scale. Like, goddamn. Get one of them on a good day and they'll tell you the white man taught black folks what a woman is. Right! Yes, I've heard that. Oh. All men know one thing, and that's it, right? Come on. Yes, they had their own form of male patriarchal control. It's true that the white Europeans took this all to merely entirely new levels, but they didn't invent it. No. You catch me on a good day, I might accuse, those white men of not inventing a damn thing. At least, not till after they took the resources from everybody else. Like, oh my goodness, another ad? I'm so sorry. Thank you. That's crazy. That's 2 and half an hour. I'm so sorry. We shouldn't get another one for a while now, right? But like, linking plow agriculture to white supremacy like that seems like, I'm sorry. So in order to reject white supremacy, like, fuck capitalism, let's just all go back to the Stone Age. Are you fucking serious? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a really good chance that rejecting the idea of biological sex and living in denial about it will eventually end up with humanity back in the Stone Age, because everything is going to fall apart. Even on a personal level, if you just ignore stuff, it doesn't just go away, Wow. Is that what it is? Are we working ourselves up into denial about colonialism, the effect it still has on our lives, so we can continue buying shit? I mean, I'm being glib there. That's an oversimplification. But, like, buying shit from the rich old white men, mind you. I mean, I don't know, because I'm just, hey, kitty. Oh, you're over here. Everything is backwards. Hey, punky cat. Hello. I should open the curtains so y'all can see the garden. There, that's much nicer. Is it? Oh, that's much nicer. Looks a lot like your kitty, huh? That's funny. A chunk beast. Yeah. Yeah, she's about going on 7 years old, so we've hit our middle-aged chub. Yeah, highly relatable. Yeah, like buried deep down in all that bullshit seemed to be letting those, titular white dudes off the hook. Like, you guys, am I punching in the dark here or what? Like, here, let me remove this. Remove your stone. Oh, and you can't see. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I lost half a pack to the rain yesterday. I came out and it was absolutely drenched. I'm pretty sure they're all ruined. 9.5, yeah. We just have kitty watch time. Yeah, it does suck, but I don't need them anyway. I went and got more, right? Nah. Oh, but it's actually this right here. It's this bit right here, right underneath the eave of the house that just wants to rain all over this thing, which you guys are actually sitting on. So I had to come out here with the towel and wipe everything up first. That is actually why we were late today. But I'm white and male, and I say that woman was letting white men off the hook, showing her love for white male oppressors. Okay, so like I say, I don't think she wrote that. I'm not even sure she read that before doing it on camera. I have definitely seen cold reads that good. Okay, I've done cold reads that good. It's one of my few real talents in life. But like, that message is so deeply tucked away under there, right? And it, even makes it more suspicious, really, that they would get a black woman to be the mouthpiece for that shit. Because as we say, there are plenty of people who are not going to question it just based on that. Just based on that. Because I know from experience that watching her delivery, she didn't write it. But that's my experience, because I know the difference between reading something somebody else wrote and reading something you fucking wrote. There's just some weird hesitations and flubs that you wouldn't make if you knew what the next fucking word was going to be. Hello?
Hello.
Ow. Hey, what's up?
Yeah. I've returned home triumphant.
I see. What's all that?
When they were cleaning out the basement, they were throwing away stuff that was damaged.
Oh.
Those are laminated and salvageable, but...
Oh, my God. Okay.
So I was able to save them, so I just want to give them to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, we should buy a laminator. Oh, my God.
The turkey?
It's a goose. He's 16 now. That's great. Oh, thank you.
You got enough coffees?
No.
You got that one, you got that one.
That one's actually an old one. I was so upset. I lost my coffee the other day because, I have been having some stuff, so I wasn't thinking super clear. And then I came out and I found it on the windowsill over there. I had set it down to pick strawberries and walked away without it.
Oh.
And I need to take it back in the house.
That cup doesn't go out here. I need that one back.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I used it one day because it was the only thing available.
It's all right.
Yeah.
But this is exactly why this one isn't used out here.
Yes, but I haven't brought it back in because I didn't want to.
It's all right. I got it. Love you.
Love you. Where'd the knitting stuff come from? Is that just random stuff?
Salvage stuff.
Okay.
I thought this was yours.
Ooh. Well, I guess it is now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I saw the white thread and the sticks.
Yeah.
Not worth anything to anybody but you, so I figured I'd give it to you.
Thanks.
Love you, my wife.
Love you. Oh, now see, that one's too low again because it's supposed to be up on the wall, and everything around here is so damn bespoke. I really, nobody can get in and out of here but me. It's like a secret clubhouse. Oops. There we go. Ah. 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 Oh. And everybody noticed my cat shirt, so I'm not still wearing it because I slept in it. That's not what happened at all. No. I'm far more put together than that. That Fiji water is a very high source of natural silica. Very good for keeping your skin, hair, nails, and bones strong and healthy. Aw, thanks. I drank it days ago and have refilled it from the fridge several times. Huge fan of the cat shirt. Thanks. My son's teacher commented on it this morning too, so yeah. Truthfully, I was just trying to find something to wear on camera that has a decently soft neckline and doesn't look too weird. I don't know. I'm stuck in that corner while I'm filming because, like I say, I don't want to do it out here until I can I might actually get me a lapel mic this week. A friend of mine might be bringing me one. So then we'll get to do videos out here. Yay. Comes from a granite aquifer. That's all the silica. Right on. Dear Mom, I know you don't want me to have a cheetah, but here's why. The cheetah can ride me to school everywhere, and it can live in the back of the garage. I'd feed it meat every day. Seeing your son, Cole. Oh my God, that's so cute. Oh my God. What up, Joe? How you doing? Did you catch the video today? Or have you caught this week's video or whatever? Silica also acts as a carrier for the other minerals in your body. It gets them where they need to go. Right on. Pretty good. Like I say, worked through one or two personal things this week, so I can't really talk about them, but suffice to say, I'm pretty good. And I even have some idea what I'm doing this week for writing day on Friday. So yay. How's the kitty that got mauled by the dog? Oh, okay. I thought I gave you guys an update about that last week. She went home. It was a he, actually, named Zimba. And people who were supposed to be watching them right. The people who were supposed to be, he had a chip, is what it was. And it led him straight to the owner, who was actually in the big town about 45 minutes away from here. Because somebody local was supposed to be watching them while a move happened. And the somebody local who was supposed to be watching them did not do a very good job. There were actually two of them. And I got to meet the other one. And he also had the little sparkly collar with the bell, with the jingle bell on it. So I feel pretty good about that. That's actually reuniting like a group, and they're going to go home because they have a home to go to, And the lady from the cat shelter came by and got them. Oh, I bet they're pissed. Yeah, maybe. But they're going to be pissed in good hands. It beats the shit out of being attacked by our dogs, right? That's what I figured. Worst case scenario, the lady who came to get them Like, I like cats, but I do not love them the way that this woman does. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the way she was talking about it, you can tell that she just really adores cats. And I'm just like, more power to you. Somebody's got to do it, right? But, like, I'm not feeding fucking feral colonies. Like, I don't. That's a whole lot of responsibility I don't need right now, Like, so I do. I feel really good about the way that situation played out. Long story short, Kitty got to go home. Yeah. So that's a happy story. And his name was Zimba. But of course, it was right after, like, he'd been here about a week and my husband had finally named the thing. It was orange and white, so he called it melange, like spice in Dune. And so then, of course, the next day, like, literally, we found out that the cat was going to go home. It's like, oh, okay. Well, whatever. I was going to, let him name it, too. Like, that's a funny name. It's cute, whatever. How dare he show enthusiasm and, like, care about stuff, right? Let's see. Here are today's strawberries. I picked this morning. I thought I was just going to have some slug food. Because, like I say, I've been trying to harvest them in the evening instead of in the morning. So that way, A, they can ripen up all afternoon. Like, duh. Of course, right? And secondly, I don't just come out in the morning and find them all eaten by slugs. That's sad. So it seems like strawberries are an evening sort of harvest food. And this right behind me, this right here is an apple tree. Lots of vitamin C. Yep. This right here is an apple tree. And I found, actually, we were digging through the shed the other day, and I found the original tag from when I bought it. And I'm looking at it, and it says, can pollinate with blah, 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 apple trees. And I'm like, pollinate? What? Like, was I supposed to buy 2 trees? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, Charles, how you doing? Oh my gosh, thank you for jumping in the comments last week. That was so interesting. What up, Jam? Yeah, I'm like, was I supposed to buy a second tree? Like, what? Oops. I don't know what I'm doing. I just like fruit, I'm just trying to be like, and I do. I got it all pruned and weeded and everything. And like, who knows? Maybe we got one a couple of years ago. So who knows? Microsoft says that it's planning to release Windows 12 this fall. Are you ready? No. Am I ready to switch to Mac because I'm tired of this bullshit? I don't know. We'll see if we have the money this year. Oh, yeah. Like, we're going to make ourselves the dominant operating system on Earth and then change everything after 20 years, man. I could go on, but I digress. You can buy apple trees that are non-pollinating because they've mutated them, but pretty much any other apple you do, if there's one in your, even if there's one in your neighbor, right? Yeah. And like, I'm looking at this, and that's why, like, I was reading this so hard, like I must have stopped moving for several minutes because my husband asked me if I was okay, because I was looking at this and all, it's all falling to place in my mind, and I'm just like, I know all of this, okay? What up, Mary? How you doing? Supposed to be heavily AI oriented. What? Oh, boo. Boo. I don't want AI in my goddamn computer. But of course it is. Of course it is. Oh, you can't wait for the next generation of AI vehicles, can you? Oh, jeez Louise. We paid off my car. I like that. It's old. The older it gets, the more I like it, I think. The idea of my computer having AI shit in it is creepy. Right. But a lot of people thought having a computer in their house was creepy to begin with, believe it or not. Going back and watching season 1 Futurama and the way they make fun of computer culture from the 90s with my kids is really funny because I had to explain a quarter of the jokes because they just don't make any sense anymore. You're not supposed to give out your email address. I mean, holy shit, that's from the movies. That's not even season 1. Like the scammers, the naked scammers. If anybody's familiar with this, I sound like an insane person if you're not, but where they, scam everyone out of everything. And it all starts because they, go around collecting people's email addresses. Because email scams used to be a thing. I had to explain all this to my kids watching this, and it's like, my father was one of the first programmers in the United States. Nice. He told me before he died not to worry about it, and he laughed. Computers are made by people. They will have built-in idiocy. That is a strong point. That might be the thing that kills us all, though. I mean, watch your Futurama with your kids. Yeah, no. I'm not going to say the gag aged poorly, but the cultural context surrounding it is gone, right? So it just becomes a teaching opportunity. Or how about the 1983 movie War Games? That's really... Oh, we made them watch that one. We made them watch War Games. Are you fucking kidding me? That's what taught us, as 80s kids, about the Cold War. Okay? Well, 90s kids, really. I saw it, like, easily 10 years after it came out. But how did your kids respond to Futurama? Oh, they love it. Should I watch War Games? Yes. In that it is a good movie. I mean, it's, okay. It is Ali Sheedy, if you remember her, and Matthew Broderick when they were both children, basically. They're not, but they're very young, okay? It's pre-fucking Ferris Bueller, Matthew Broderick. Remember when somebody not being able to spell potato made them unqualified for the presidency? Those were the good old days. I do remember that, actually. Potato, yeah, right. I saw War Games when it came out back in 1983. You know what I was doing in 1983? Just dating. So I got a Disney Plus ad, which literally just showed a clip from a classic episode of The Simpsons. The one that turned into a meme where Homer emerges from the hedge. Culture is officially dead. Okay, hot take. Culture died like 100 years ago. Give or take. That is my official stance on that. Because popular culture is curated. It has been for at least 100 years. So, yeah. Remember when Ali Sheedy wanted to swim 2 miles to the island at night and Matthew Broderick said, "No, Wonder Woman"? Do I remember that dialogue from that specific scene of the film? No. Unfortunately, I can't say I do. It's been a minute. Oh, what's the name of the guy who plays Falcon? Because he's epic. But I bet you know that, don't you? No, Wonder Woman, I can't do that. War Games led to some insane hacking laws. Real Genius led to some insane popcorn pranks. Someone else remembers Real Genius. I legit think about the plot of that film sometimes because I have a sneaking suspicion that it has been like played out in reality multiple times. If you know what I mean. Contractors using student labor and not actually informing them what their labor is going to be for. I think that happens. Completely. Yeah. I think there's a reason that might be, that one's not usually on any of the classic sci-fi lists I see, any of the retrospective lists I see. None of it. I never see that one. No one else seems to remember that movie, and I'm just like, I wonder why. John Wood played Falcon. See, no wonder I can't remember his name. Holy crap. Disney destroyed so much of the popular culture even back in the 1940s. Like, okay, I think that they... Wait, destroyed popular culture? Okay. Now, when I say popular culture, I mean the media-driven stuff, So Disney would qualify as that. And they would have had a large hand in manufacturing the shit that culture has been replaced with, to use my wording. Okay. So popular culture is essentially fabricated, which is gross. And disgustingly, it actually appears that this is what newspapers and radio, like since their inception, 100, 150 years ago, like that's what they've been for, which is awful. That's like taking AI and using it to make sex bots instead of therapists. What the fuck? I mean, that's all everyone's been concerned about AI, right? Is misuse. Why isn't anyone doing anything to prevent that? Why isn't anyone actually acting, to promote the positive use of this shit? Why are we all just letting this happen? I don't know if that's connected to the thing I was saying a minute ago directly. But I do wonder that. I do wonder why, how exactly it is that all of us, literally everyone I can speak to about something will be like, have the same sentiment. And then for some reason, the public goes the other direction. And you're just like, what? What public? Who? Where? What? I just got a notification saying that Melanie Hamlet will go live on YouTube soon. I know that name. Remind me who that is. I'm so sorry. It's been a time. It's been a just trying to get my head on straight. It's never gonna happen. It's not a hat that fits straight. I think that's the problem. Anyways, Mary, if you want a, romp through 80s flick fun that is like a bit sci-fi and totally relevant to modern politics, I would say Real Genius is probably your go-to there over War Games because it's fucking hilarious. Like Real Genius is a legitimately funny movie. So... and there's, I feel like a positive female character in it, where like, she's just one of the characters and not necessarily like a girl. It's cool. She's the comedian who gives very frank assessments of how men behave. Oh, okay. So every female comedian ever, I'm sorry. Not that I don't love stand-up or whatever. But you haven't seen Real Genius. God. Oh my goodness. What was the other thing you hadn't seen? Fight Club, right? You hadn't seen Fight Club either? Oh my goodness. Okay. After you watch Real Genius, you'll never listen to that Tears for Fears song the same ever again. Like, such a good my man. And the only problem I have with it is the only problem I have with Ghostbusters, and it's the same problem because it's the same dude. They cast the same redheaded dude as the incompetent bad guy, bureaucrat dude. And you're just like, come on, you guys. Representation was shit. I just like, aw. She recently explained why men are more dangerous to women than bears. Oh. Right on. See, on a one-on-one level, I don't know if that's true. Like, all things being equal, I saw Fight Club recently on the internet. Oh, what did you think? Did you watch that on our recommendation? What did you think? I'm sorry for giving away the ending. I cannot believe it's been 25 years, my man. I can't believe I've been... I would pick the man. Okay. See, to me, a lot of it is the context of being in the woods, right? Because you have to ask yourself, what the fuck are they doing here, and how much does it have to do with me? In the context of the bear, why is the bear in the woods? Because the bear fucking lives there. What does it have to do with me? Probably absolutely nothing. Why is the man in the woods? He had to go to some trouble to get there. Does it have anything to do with me? Well, he is right there. The proximity lets me know that there's a possibility that it does, and I don't like that. Right? We know the bear is predator 100%. The man is most likely to not be a predator. I can also talk to a man. Right. See, outside of the woods, that changes quite a bit for me. Let's put it in the context of a ladies' room, just for fun. I'd still rather run into a man, because you can manipulate a man. Who's never done that before, right? I wasn't going to say reason with, but he's in the women's room, so maybe not. Good movie. Offered a fine illustration of male anger and resentment to the rapidly changing times. Yeah, right. Well, and as a younger person, it kind of upset me that people insisted on the masculine reading of that, because, quite frankly, I mean, I only relate to all of it, right? I mean, except maybe the bit where he's in the tub talking about being a man raised by women. Maybe you don't need another woman. Like, obviously that part doesn't apply. But, unless you want to make that the entire core subtext of the story, which I don't think it's necessary to do. You might be able to do that, but I don't think you could do that. I also can't kick a bear in the nuts. Yeah, true. You don't know where their weak spots are so much. True. And you don't want to get close enough to find out, because bears have claws. Yeah. Like, I'm saying, any circumstance outside of the woods, I guess I'd have to go with the man. Because you can manipulate a man. You can fawn over them. You can go, yes, honey, you look great, and walk away, right? But, like, predicted a lot of the current manosphere culture. Yeah, it influenced a lot of the current manosphere culture. Yeah. Which is back to what I was saying in my video about behavior and biology being a feedback loop that we really ought to study. The fact that, like, watching people live stuff like that. I'm very familiar with that film. I recognize references to it when I see them in the real world, and sometimes I don't think people realize they're making them. I think they're quoting someone else who was referencing Fight Club, and they don't realize that that's where it came from. It's like what we were saying earlier about people teaching their babies to talk like TikTok. Okay. It's these iterations, and after a while it becomes not a copy anymore. It becomes, takes on a life of its own. Can be just like a game of telephone, though. Maybe that's what thoughtless repetition does, right? It becomes everything just like a giant game of telephone. Oh, on that note, Jeremy Dodger did his PhD. Make me say that. Whatever. I'm quoting you. PhD dissertation on the sexualities of trans men before and after HRT. I mean to read it someday. That sounds like a fascinating study. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Is there any reason not to call that person Jamie? It is their name, right? A British biscuit. A Jammy Dodger. I know. But their real name is Jamie Rains. So I don't see a reason not to call them by their name. For all I know, that's their birth name. I've known female people called Jamie, okay? I don't have a problem, generally speaking, calling somebody by a different name, by whatever name they want. I don't care about that. I don't see a reason to care about that. Calling yourself after a sweet cookie, like a sweet biscuit, is maybe a little age inappropriate. But I discovered that I am not the only person to notice some sort of weird child-friendly, like overly child-friendly activity going on there. That's what the Daily Wire called Brett Cooper. A British biscuit. Sorry. There's that Daily Wire woman called Brett Cooper. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if Brett is short. Yeah, right. That every time I've mentioned Brett Cooper to anybody who didn't know who she was, they thought I was talking about a dude. Like, on the other hand, I've met some people under 20 with some very interesting names. So, my generation seems to have just swung for the fences on that. It'll probably be a guy in a dress cosplaying away from his family. Maybe a bear will eat him. Well, I mean, that's one of that'd be an example of reality not conforming to your expectations can actually be dangerous, right? Like, you think you're the main character, and so that bear is never going to hurt you, but like, that's probably not true, isn't it? Hey, I don't have a problem with women taking advantage of white male privilege. I just wish they would admit that that's what they're doing rather than pretending they're men. Yeah, right. No, that's what I was saying about Judith Butler. Like, okay, middle-aged white guy syndrome is a term I'm working on. It's in the, I'm not married to that title, but the concept is where like an older white fella, especially if he has an upper-class British accent, can say any damn thing, any nonsense they want, any kind of gobbledygook, whatever the fuck they want. And if they say it with an authoritative tone, in that voice, with that face, people just listen to them. I've noticed it myself. The best one was Christopher Lee. If you guys know who that was. And they took the clip down, I swear to God, because then I scoured YouTube looking for this thing. It was Christopher Lee, the actor. Okay, you guys probably know him as the evil wizard from the Lord of the Rings, or he did horror movies for years. He's famous for playing Dracula, okay, and like satanic priests and shit like that. So he was doing an interview. They were in the 80s during the Satanic Panic, I guess it must have been. They were asking him about Satanism. And Christopher Lee was sitting there saying, oh, yes, they practice their religion just as much as anyone else practices theirs. And they're out there probably tonight. Ask any policeman. Ask any priest. They know this. Blah, blah, blah. And then, like, instead recently, they showed trans men benefited from the gender pay gap, too. Wow, that's deep to unpack. But so Christopher Lee was sitting there acting like he's some kind of expert on Satanism for like 8 solid minutes. And meanwhile, I, who was raised in the occult community, okay, and I've met Satanists. I've never met anyone who worships the devil. Those are crazy people. That's an angry, that's inverted Catholicism. That is a nightmare that Christians made up for themselves. That's not a thing. Okay, as far as I've ever known. And I'm sitting here going, well, damn, did I miss something? And then at the end of this, Christopher Lee comes out and says, well, I only know what I have read from books. I only know as much as anyone who could read some books, and I've seen it on TV. And I'm like, why did you wait until 8 minutes into the interview to tell us that? And how the hell did I fall for this? What? Middle-aged white guy syndrome. Okay, because he said it in Christopher Lee's voice. With Christopher Lee's face. But there is no way I would have sat there that long and listened to anybody else about that nonsense. Yeah, Christopher Lee always played weird-ass characters. Yeah, Satan is a Western Christian invention. Right. And like... UK police get taught how to speak in an authoritative tone. I want to learn it someday. Right, of course they do. Of course they do. It has a... it works, okay? If you want authority in a situation, a lot of times all you got to do is fucking take it, right? It's weird stuff. Especially if you happen to be the tallest person in the room, right? Which is usually a man. Especially if you have to be the person with the most boomy voice in the room, which is usually a man, right? And I don't know how much it has to do with threat of violence as it has to do with being able to get everybody's attention. He also played Count Dooku. Oh, yeah, right. You're right. I forgot about that one. I'm not big into Star Wars. I know oodles about it, but I'm not big into Star Wars. Oh my God, yeah, hype plays such a role. Right. And, thanks, fellas, I guess, for going ahead and letting us keep the high heels instead of just making it into some strange fashion competition where we even out the height difference so they hike it up some more and wear platforms or something. Sounds like only the court of France would have time for bullshit like that anyway. So many of the big figures in media are really tall. Yeah. Christopher Lee was 6'5", really? Damn. We've never had a president under 6 foot. There's a reason men want to be tall. Right. Yeah. Okay. And I really do think a lot of it is about just being able to command attention, like physically. Right? But so, Judith Butler appears to be sort of aiming in the direction of middle-aged white guy syndrome. And she's really close, which is shocking for a Jewish girl from Cleveland. Like, she's clearly a force to be reckoned with. But like we were saying last week, like, y'all, she doesn't believe that biosex is real either. Okay, so it isn't even like there's this thing that we can build upon. No. Butler wants to be exactly like all the male French philosophy profs sleeping with the doctoral students. She comes off as very much to be the patriarch who never validated me situation. Yeah, be the patriarch who never validated me. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Which is funny because one of the few stories I could find about her as a young person was the tale of how her rabbi singled her out for bad behavior and made her study philosophy. And how excited she actually had been about it. She's like, yay, I get to take philosophy classes with the rabbi, which... Sure. Okay. Let's say all that happened just like that in the moment. That would be a story of her being validated by a patriarch. That's like literally the one thing. And I could not find what school she went to. Right. Tall women command attention too. Right. And I don't know that it's... Well, so the associations aggravate me. So being tall is associated with authority. And many men are taller than many women. So therefore, okay, but it's like, if you have a group of women, you still look to the you do. You still look to the tallest woman in the room. I've noticed this, okay? I love it when leaders from different religions try to pretend like their different views can be reconciled. Did I say something that made you say that brought that up? Too much of that shit is based on self-serving motivations. So, like, I don't really understand. And you talk about personal stuff. There's something I've been mulling over recently. Is like, what is religion for? Like, actually, I mean, from a spiritual perspective. And I don't mean like from a political perspective or from a social, cultural perspective. I mean, like, spiritually. Let's say you believe in any of that. That's going to be because you've experienced something on your own, right? Like, not. So then you don't need the religion. So, like, what is it? And if the contemplation of that shit is supposed to like lead to experience of anything, I don't possibly see how any modern practice. No one's heart is in anything. I don't understand. Religion is the quest to give life meaning. I mean, it can be an aspect of that. How does that work? I guess is what I'm saying. Because if you're searching for that level of meaning, you already have some kind of understanding that, like, I don't know. I've just never found any of that shit helpful at all. And to the point, I'm sick of looking. Please don't convince me. Please don't try and convince me. I'm so, like, I saw a thing recently where Orthodox Jewish and Catholic leaders bonded over their views on women, gays, and trans. Right. That's what I'm saying. Conservatives are going to conserve. They're going to, old-fashioned people are going to be old-fashioned people. And that's just how the scripture is going to strike them. That's just how they, Which is one of the reasons women's perspective is important. Because obviously a lot of that stuff strikes me a bit differently. Speaking for myself anyway. Ooh. Yeah, my sister's a Protestant priest, and her wedding is next week. It's going to be really non-traditional. I'm excited. That is such an interesting combination. Oh my God. Christmas dinner at your house must be so much fun. Is it just the two of you, or do you have more siblings? Is there a whole spectrum to get to know? I mean, my gosh. Like, everything people do is to look for happiness or avoid suffering, and the religions have always sold themselves as path to that. Although I've never seen any evidence of that being true at all. Right. I have an older sister and a younger brother. Oh, right on. So there's three of you. Right on. Middle child. Ooh. Show up in flamboyant men's clothes. It'll shake things up a bit. You made me think of the sci-fi movie Epoch Evolution, where the leaders of all the world's religions unite to prevent everything from knowing about alien life forms. I mean, plausible, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I've heard a conspiracy theory about that, but with world governments. Right? Oh, I'm trans. I've already stirred the pot till it flowed over. Right. Like any mature person, you wear whatever you want, I presume. Right? I'm sorry about the ads. Thank you for sitting through the ads. Every nickel in my pocket counts. We're getting there. And my wardrobe is like half men's, half women's. Because of the shape of my body, I find that I really cannot wear men's clothes. Then in order to really fit into men's clothes, I have to get so slim. I have to lose so much weight that it's just not worth doing. And I've done it. It's not healthy, For me personally. Men's clothes don't fit me right. Shocking. You said you got really high white hips, don't you? So men's trousers. Yeah, and short legs. Like the inverse proportions of most men. So yeah. And then so consequently the shirts don't fit properly either because my hips stick out and then I'm high-waisted. So it just doesn't work. I simply do not look good in men's clothes. Some women do look great in To be able to rock a suit like, Helen Mirren can, oh, God, I would die. But I'd have to die in order to become that svelte through the hips. You know what I mean? Like, it's just never going to happen for me. Isn't she also, like, really tall? So I kind of have a similar problem within men's trousers range. There's usually only one on the rack with a wide enough waist and small enough trouser leg to fit. That's right. That's not a transition thing. It was even the case before. So you just have sort of short legs, too. It's funny because my two sons, one of them is thick through the middle and one of them is like just skinny. And so the older one, I had trouble finding him pants that fit through the middle that weren't way too long. And then the other one, when they're the right length, they're too big around the middle. I'm over here at 5'8", sobbing because I'll never be U.S. president. Oh, honey, you have to have been born here, so that's okay. I was born here, and I'll never be president either. And thank goodness for that. Who the hell wants? Which, like, just asking myself that question has led down such a rabbit hole of just theorizing about how the human mind works. Because who in the hell actually wants that level of responsibility? Who in the hell actually has the gall to put themselves out in front of everybody and say, I'm the one who should be leading this troop right now? And then they have the audacity to not actually, like, do the stuff that they say they're going to do, which, like, I can't say that Helen Mirren is 5'4". Really? Me too. Well, okay. It's not that. It's body type then. It's definitely body type. Absolutely 100% body type. I just don't look good in men's clothes. Wah. It's okay. I've learned to live with it. Here's a good line in Vikings. Power is only given to those willing to lower themselves in picking it up. Ooh. Well, see, I have this question, like, what is power? There's another question. There's authority and there's might, right? The brute force ability to force stuff to make shit happen. And then there's influence, right? But what, and power is like a mixture of these or what? Like, I don't know. You'd just think that the thing that people have supposedly been arguing over and fighting over since time began would be fairly easy to define. And like authority, influence, okay. Might. Is power simply the basic ability to enact your will upon the world? Is that what that is? Through whatever means? If so, I'm going to take some serious issue with might makes right, because that's just one of your choices. Why would you pick that one necessarily? It just seems like unnecessary brutality, because guess what? People want structure. Like, people need structure. Like, the world has to have one. People, like okay. She was in a Twilight Zone episode called Dead Woman's Shoes. She looked totally amazing in those heels. Helen Mirren looks amazing in everything. That's my point. It's almost like looking amazing is part of her job or something. That she is well paid and well respected in for reasons, right? So it wasn't saying anything against her. I'm just not that person. And that was one of the things that got me questioning all of this gender stuff, quite frankly. I can't lie, is why do I feel any pressure to be that person? Why should that even be a question in my mind? Why should I be trying to wear men's clothes? Why is this even an issue? Right? Like, what? I suddenly had this strange sensation in my mid-20s that I've been struggling over all of this for no good reason. Apparently Kamala Harris is 5'2". Don't know why, but I thought she was really tall. I'm going to go with heels. She probably wears them religiously, despite being like 60, which just trying to picture that is horrifying. Yeah, I had a similar realization. At some point, you realize that the gender stuff really doesn't matter. Like, yeah. And where it came back to like, it does come back to like, and that's one of the things about the gender thing that offends me. Just the core of it, just so core level offensive, is that no, the biological sex not being being immutable. That's the foundation that you build everything else on. You don't have to worry about losing your manhood or your womanhood or whatever, because that's impossible. Therefore, you can be and do whatever you want. Okay? That was what set me free 15 years ago or whatever it was. Yeah. And so them just waving that idea away in favor of all this oppressive, inverted fascistic shit is just like, just no, you can't take that from me. God damn it. I earned that. I worked really hard for that. Which is why I try to tell fellow trans that accepting your sex is liberating. Yeah, accepting the truth will set you free. But it is going to hurt like a bitch first, okay? Yeah, truth hurts, but it will set you free. Vanna White is 6'7", and she handles her heels very gracefully. Well, okay, but like she's also up there by herself. It really doesn't matter how tall she is. She's standing next to that board. Although, whenever she gets next to Pat Sajak, that's a thing to behold, isn't it? That's funny. The things we learn in childhood. Why do I know that man's name? What do I need that information for? Age 67. Okay. Still, I'm not saying they can't handle it. I'm just saying from like a physical perspective, wearing heels hurts, even when you're younger. Much less, the effects it has over time of walking that way. I recently connected with a trans friend who I used to be really close with, but then she blocked me for being a TERF. Feel like she could take what you're saying to heart, but I don't know how to broach it. Yeah. She gets so worked up over the gender stuff, and I wish I could get across to her how little it matters and how it's not worth stressing over. Well, and it's like what we were saying last week, where you were talking about a friend of yours who is maybe slipping into some dependency with marijuana, right? Where there's just maybe some deeper identity issues going on there. Maybe some deeper ego issues going on there that this is a symptom of. Okay. It's the same friend. That's funny. Vanna White is a very tough lady. She can handle high heels. No, that's great. That's great for her. I'm just saying that, like, she probably doesn't, I don't know, feel that they're mandatory in the way the vice president might, since she's 5'2". I mean, you don't want to be the shortest person in that room. I'm just saying, one can imagine somebody in Kamala Harris's situation might feel some pressure to wear heels that other people do not. Yeah, I wonder that too. Wonder if my friend thinks the transition will fix the gaping hole in her heart-brain life. Yeah, and that does tend to be the belief, doesn't it? And I understand that. I do. But it's magical thinking. And I would say that, in the psychological term of like, it is not logical. It is not, you're missing steps. And I think of it like, and I'm aging myself here, but it makes me think of the underpants gnomes. Okay. Their plan is collect underpants. Part 2, ? Part 3, take over the world. Okay. And that part 2 being missing is just something that they're just ignoring. And it's like that. You have to actually have a logical plan that you can't just expect things to happen because you think that they should. I don't know. It's hard to articulate. Vanna White is 5'6". Okay. I don't know where I thought you were saying she was 6'7". That is very tall. And I guess her being 67, that adds up, right? But like, sorry. Oh, now I gotta like I don't want to look at pictures of them. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's fine. Some trans community rhetoric certainly builds up transition as if it would solve everything. Yeah, of course they do. And I imagine that once you've done something like that, you really want to believe that it would. So, not you personally. One in general. You in general. I've seen women who are 6'7". Right? Yeah. No, I have too. But like it happens. So that's why that didn't stop me, in my tracks and go, wait, what? There may be a sunk cost fallacy element in it, to be sure. Right? Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I think there definitely is in some cases. Some of the louder cases, honestly. And almost an unjust world fallacy, if that makes sense. An unjust world fallacy. Like the world sucks because of transphobia, not because there's things you could be doing that help you. Yeah. Yeah. That's called a victim complex. That's definitely a thing. I think certain elements of our culture literally breed that into people. There's a big sunk cost fallacy happening with many trans folk. Yeah, right. And that community asks a whole lot of you, doesn't it? They want their pound of flesh, like literally. And there is literally no coming back from that. So the only way there wouldn't be sunk cost rationalization going on there is if it was really a fantastic idea for all of the people who go through that. And there's just no way that that's true. So. And not being able to wear suit pants was just like, I don't know. It's one of those things that seems shallow and petty. And I tried to work around it. And it's just, I'm just not that person. It became sort of emblematic in my mind of how I'm just not that guy. In every way. I'm just not, Sometimes the things we relate to intensely are things we wish we had, right? Not necessarily things we do have. Part of your journey. I don't think it sounds shallow. It was meaningful to you, part of your journey. And I can understand how that might feel painful. Thank you. I would say pain was a bit of a strong word. It's one of those things that like became like a stone in my shoe. The more time went on, the more it started to wear on me. It's like, why? I'm trying to convince myself that I am this sort of person. Why can I not be that sort of person? That just doesn't seem to make any sense. In the UK, LGBT people are evenly split between right and left, liberal and conservative, but in the US, they're much more left-leaning than the general public. Well, that's probably because our conservative party is overtly Christian and homophobic, and by extension, transphobic. And has been since the 1970s. So it makes sense. And our conservative party genuinely doesn't have an issue with gays for the most part. Trans folks, sure, but not the gays. Right. Whereas in the United States, since the 1970s, the conservative party here has made it, and sometimes their overt mission, to defeat the gay agenda. Okay. So as a homosexual, there was no question. If you were going to support them, how in the hell could you possibly do that? Or anyone who knew anyone. Oh my God, you guys. Somebody called me a gay sympathizer the other day. And I had to just sit there and laugh and be like, well, yeah, I guess. in that I don't see them as on the other side in any sort of a conflict. What are you talking about? Like, most politicians aren't openly religious here. That probably helps. Yeah. And it's strange how your religion and your government are supposedly, like this, right? Like officially. And over here, we supposedly don't have that. And yet, it's almost as if they feel the need to like make up for that somehow. It's bizarre. It makes, yeah. Yes, we're way more hostile place for LGBT to live in. They can't afford to be conservative. It's not in their best interest. Right. So they all got corralled to the other side and then boxed into the trans movement, which is cute. Right? That's cute. America. So yeah, anyone who is a gay sympathizer or anything remotely resembling that, anyone who just isn't against homosexuals in general, like how you be against that's like being against certain types of grass. I don't understand, but okay. Like, girl, you're just admitting your own political faction once you dead. Right? Blair White is conservative. Yeah, including on gender roles. And she even has said she's too trans for the right, which to me is just sad. Like, girl, you're just admitting your own political faction once you dead. Or at least, yeah, closeted for sure. Yeah. And it just looks like a special flavor of edgelord. Am I the only one who gets that? Like, I guess not. But that's how that comes across. Like, if your identity is so fraught, how did you arrive at that? That's not organic. No one just comes together like that. What? Oh. Yes, LGBT people like Blair White and Brad Colombo are the exceptions here in the U.S. And it's like they think they're going to shift the Republican Party. Which the only way for that to happen, which would be for the Republican Party to abandon its claim to authority, essentially, through Christianity. So good luck with that. There's definitely an element of I'm so cool and unique and different and being a right-leaning. Right, exactly. It's edgelord shit. Which, like, the day that hit me, I was like, oh, I'm 10 years older than all these people. Okay, that makes some sense now. All of a sudden, like... Caitlyn Jenner tried to show up at CPAC and she was chased around by trolls heckling her the whole time. Oh, like, what did you expect? Yeah, I don't know. Not that. He's an Olympian. He's used to having the proverbial red carpet rolled out for his entitled ass. And nobody deserves to be chased around by trolls, so that sucks. Jenner isn't the brightest bulb. No, but I mean, again, he's a jock. So, that stereotype isn't based on nothing. How old is Blair White anyway? I'm actually legit curious all of a sudden. 30. He is exactly 10 years younger than me. That's funny. Wow, almost to the month. That's funny. So, yeah. It's kind of like watching your younger cousins get into some shit and be like, oh, Did you see when she tried to run for governor and John Hannity interviewed her on immigration policy and Jenner just knew absolutely nothing? Seemed like the only reason was to get lower taxes. Wow. No. It said that she was born in he was born in 93, which makes him 30. He'll be 31 in September. So, bam. Man, I'm 28. Almost at that milestone. Woo! It's a good decade, It is. It can be. It's not, man, you have to put some effort into it, obviously, but life does not end at 30. That's for sure. But so, yeah, I don't know. And based on some of I'm starting to think that Blair White might be a little too smart for Blair White's persona's own good. Because I think Blair White is actually evolving and continuing to learn and grow as a human being, and is therefore beginning to struggle to maintain that persona because it's not real. It never was, for how personas are. For me, it's going to be the decade where I become a trans activist, unironically. I'm going to start a charity pressure group called Guardrail to advocate for reasonable policy with regards to trans folks. Tired of the only people advocating for our rights being insane woke types who want self-ID for everything. And to completely eradicate safe spaces for natal women. Well, you heard it here, folks. Heard it here first, folks. Would you call that like a middle of the road approach? Like a sane trans rights? Yes, Caitlyn Jenner is extremely egocentric. She's done nothing positive for LGBT people. Done nothing to help make us the U.S. a better, safer place. No. And, really, put yourself in the position of that person, like as a person, and somebody comes to you and says they want to put you on the cover of Vanity Fair. You should say no. If you have any shame or decency, that just never should have happened in the first place. It's obviously an ego trip. I do remember some of Jenner's comments early on in transition being very stereotypical and making us look bad. Yeah, so who's surprised? Who's surprised by the foolish behavior there? And the whole line about wearing lingerie under her Olympic running gear. I don't know. To me, that's just strange. Yeah. Yeah, and it was the 1970s. Gender bending was all the rage at the time. Okay, I wasn't there for that, but goddamn do I hear tell, alright? The concept of menswear and womenswear was sort of nebulous in a lot of places. I don't know if lingerie was one of them, but the hardest part about being a woman is picking what to wear. Yeah, well, you haven't and will never menstruate, so that perspective makes sense. Right. The hardest part about being a woman is conceptualizing it that way. You're asking me what is the hardest part about life. That's what you're asking me, because that is all that I know. Caitlyn is very hardcore Republican and has always been that way. Yeah, well, the world served him well, didn't it? The status quo served him quite well. And I'm not even necessarily saying that with any, I don't mean to be mean about it. Of course somebody in that situation is going to be conservative. Of course, it makes sense. It would be completely irrational for someone for whom the system is working perfectly to want to change it from their perspective. If it's not broke, don't fix it. It's a short-sighted and selfish perspective, considering everything that has to go into that. But it is at least rational, right? They're not just maniacs. So that's hopeful, right? Man would never be able to cope with the pain and stresses from having periods. No, I doubt that. But I don't know. Speaking for myself, on the pain scale, we're going up to a maximum of 3.5. Okay? It's not that so much. I mean, it is also a weird sort of pain that a lot of times you just can't make go away. There's that. So, which makes me think of man flu, and what we were saying earlier about how men seem to have a luxury a lot of times of just kind of ignoring their own bodies. It just sort of, putters along at the same pace. Men's bodies aren't adapted to handle that kind of pain. I guess, yeah, obviously, but to try and describe for you pain in a body part you don't have is probably a waste of everyone's time, right? That's the thing. And it brings me back to something, a key thing about, I want to say men in general. And I hesitate to say that because this is not a scientific thing that I'm about to say, and I have not met all of them. But y'all don't need to understand everything. Just because you can't understand it doesn't mean that it isn't true. Okay? And just because it is true doesn't mean that you're entitled to understand it. Okay? So just because I cannot really describe this well enough for you to really grok what I'm talking about should not matter. Okay? That would be the point where you just take my word for it. And have some level of, trust. I don't know. That our experiences are different, so I'm going to have to just tell you about mine, and you're just going to have to take my word for it here and there, and it's, I totally will do the same, right? There's definitely some stuff, about man's experience that, again, that was another thing I hit, trying to convince myself I was one, when every once in a while you run into, a corner of a male psyche, and you just go, whoa, I'm out of here, and I'm gone, like, and I'm not talking about horrible stuff. Some of it's mundane stuff that all men seem to have, and I can't think of any good examples right now, but like, or just the way they all seem to approach similar situations in similar ways at first, And the first time I'd have noticed it was as a teenager, and I'd just be like, well, that's dumb. I would never do that way. And then come to find that way is kind of the dudely way. So that I would never do it that way, it kind of makes me think maybe I'm not a dude. And it's just stuff that added up over time. I don't know. I'm so glad nobody gave me hormone blockers, 2 puberty blockers at 9. You want to talk about giving somebody time to work shit out for themselves? Well, there you go. It only took me until I was about your age. I was about 28 years old. I was only almost 30 by the time I finally really figured this shit out for myself. So, based upon that timeline, I really don't know what advice to give to people who are like champing at the bit to transition when they're younger. I really don't know what to say to that. I think it's a mistake. I do. Not only have you not had time to really figure yourself out, at that rate, you're never gonna. Because you done made the decision. You made that decision. I've had some women describe to me about having periods. I know I would not want to have them. Yeah, well, that I'll agree with you. I don't think anyone wants one. Except maybe somebody who's afraid they're pregnant. But like, seriously speaking, like, I don't think anybody says to themselves, yay, my period has come. I shall enjoy this. Like, no. I do gotta say, I find it baffling when trans women wish they menstruated. It never seemed no. And that's another thing. It's so obvious that that's just about ego validation, isn't it? And they don't even know what they're saying. They can't possibly. Or you wouldn't say that. Oh, that just demonstrates to me that you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, Caitlyn Jenner was very fixated on that. Caitlyn Jenner was 60-some-odd when he transitioned. What? And that was another weird thing about that. A woman that age should be called Linda. Or, not Caitlyn. Why did you pick a name that was trendy when your kids were born? That's creepy, Bruce. Okay? A lot of times, like I say, I don't pull out dead names. I don't mind changing people's names. But that one, like, Caitlyn is not a 65-year-old. Like, that's, I don't know. Of all the names to choose, that one wigged me out. That one came across as creepy to me. Oh, but I'm seeing more and more people seriously believe the trans women get non-psychosomatic periods, and it makes me want to curl up and die. Like, just tell me you don't know how the, female reproductive system works without saying so, right? Because the hormones that cause that are in the ovaries. It's all about releasing an egg from your ovaries and whatever. And if you don't have ovaries, then you do not menstruate. The end. You can't. You physically cannot. I remember when my niece was 14 and she was already sick of having periods. Definitely not enthusiastic about it. Right. So, gosh, and younger women, young girls like that are so vulnerable in a lot of ways that there's just no insulation from. There's no good protection. There's no good framework for any of that. And I know me personally, that also contributed a lot. Not my period specifically, but I was able to just sweep that under the rug and essentially ignore it along with everything else. It's medically impossible. Right. To menstruate without ovaries. It cannot happen. So, I don't know what. The thing about psychosomatic stuff, though, is it is amazingly powerful. So, and you can lie to yourself in this weird way where if you expect something to happen hard enough, you can cause it to happen without realizing it. And then you take that as evidence that it's going to happen, and then it does more, and it becomes a feedback loop. And just, my girlfriend did her best to support my needs. That's good. Well, and I mean, that's rough for her, I'm sure that she had as good a support as any, but like broadly speaking, and I'm not some kind of menstruation expert, but I swear the literal physical organ of the uterus plays a tiny role in menstruation. Maybe. Oh yeah, obviously, obviously. You're being facetious. I don't have to actually explain that, right? Like, obviously, like. That's the next part of the sex ed video that they cut off for our PBS educational bit that we did. Like, at least my class, we got separated out into room, boys and girls, and the girls got shown the film about the shedding of the uterine lining, and the boys did not. So maybe you don't know that. And not like you went to public school in America anyway. But yeah, like the feedback loop is why I worry about the trans woman period thing being normalized. Yes. But so that's what I'm saying. If we conceptualize our experience as a feedback loop, then all of a sudden our calculus about what you put into that feedback loop changes drastically. Does it not? I saw one thing. I saw one said she was going to see her doctor because she hadn't gotten her period after 6 months. Oh my God. Sometimes I don't know. I truly don't know if they're delusional or stupid. And I hate to say that. And I don't mean stupid with like any hate. Some people are just not that bright. And maybe it's a combination of just not being that bright. I'm being completely out to sea from reality. I don't know. I think most are not very bright, to be honest. And that is also a vulnerability. That also makes you not being able to think critically for yourself about these things also makes you vulnerable to this shit. I hate to say it, but yeah, idiocy plus Delulu. Right. But so they cannot help not being bright. That is not a moral judgment. And the fact that just leaves them even more open to being manipulated by this bullshit and turned into perpetual medical patients and possibly harmed and who knows what. To alienate their own families if they decide to go with this and their fans, the people they know don't like it. Because they're not bright enough to see that that's what's happening. That they're being manipulated into alienating their own friends and family. I mean, this is dark shit, okay? Just because you're not the brightest person does not mean you deserve to suffer like that and be manipulated like that. That's terrible. And there's no checks and balances. We're not allowed to, admit it's another thing. I don't know. That's not my personal bailiwick, right? Because I'm a lot of things, but stupid I don't think is one of them, sadly. So I'm not going to speak too much to that, but it's just another way that failing to accept material reality fails everybody. So they almost believe, a lot of trans folks also seem almost to confuse rhetoric for reality. Yes. Yes. Which, you know, I have my own theories about, but yes, definitely. So they almost believe whatever makes the most efficient argument in debates rather than what best explains the world. Yeah. Man, and that goes like all the way back to, I think I was bitching about the Greeks last week about how they had this thing where they just kind of logically figure something out and be like, there it is, they got it, without actually testing it out. Like, you can't, that's not how that works. And to me, just the shock that I learned that the scientific method is literally just going the extra mile to actually test out your hypothesis, to test out your theory. That's what that is. And I'm like, that's what caused the Enlightenment? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God. How embarrassing. I don't think it's their fault. I think a lot of them are expected to engage in sophisticated social science debates they're not trained for. Which is why I'm glad I transitioned after getting a degree in anthropology. Well, we can't make that mandatory. Where I learned about how gender works in a neutral sense. Right. I see trans folks who learn about gender theories mostly from trans communities, and they have such a garbled understanding of it all. Yeah. Well, it's like that game of telephone I was talking about earlier, where it's just meaningless repetition, right? Or where maybe everybody adds on their own interpretation because it's real in the first place. Maybe it's more like that. So that, you're just not getting anything like the most bastardized anthropology of gender imaginable. Right. And probably very serving to the cause, I'm guessing. Right? To give the impression trans people were accepted by indigenous cultures. Oh yeah, that thing you were saying about the third genders being like a subclass being conveniently left out. I wish I thought to say that. See, that's the kind of thing, like, from my perspective, that's a less obvious point. But like, yeah. It's not as if they were, praised and held up for that. Man, as the species name, is androcentricity. Well, I myself just recently, I just learned that yesterday or whenever that was that I was looking that up. Because, and this is one of the reasons that I always go through, and like, if I'm going to take on a video, I go through it point by point by point and make sure that I understand and or can address everything, whether I actually, take advantage of them all or not. And this one was really dense. And in there, one of the, like I say, watch me researching Aztec farming practices. I'm like, how the hell did I get there? Right? I had this moment of like, wait, my God, what am I doing with my life? But like, shoot. Yeah, I didn't know that bit about mon, Anglo-Saxon, Old English. I didn't know that. I did not know that. How do you account for, I mean, that's not the root of all that in French, right? Goodness knows the French have gone on and on and on about the rights of man. And I'm waiting for somebody to bring that up in response to my video because I was wondering this and I don't have a ready answer and I didn't have time to research this. But, like, how do you account for that? On the one hand, seeming to refer to mankind, and then on the other hand, you're really enacting it only for, like, white males? How do you account for that? Right. Objective bodily characteristics, not subjective feelings. I can't fathom why trans communities would point to these groups as models for trans folks being accepted into society. During my degree, we learned about the transvesti of Brazil, basically trans women, and they're hugely marginalized sex workers like ladyboys in Thailand. Oh my gosh. I'm an anthropology professor. Gender is determined by objective bodily characteristics, not subjective feelings. Yes, third genders were treated as second or third class citizens in indigenous societies, which is awful. I had a class with Kent Flannery at University of Michigan circa 1972. That is cool. Yes, man meant person in Old English, and woman was female person. Right. It's with mom. Right, yeah. Hey, Boomba, how you doing? As usual, I have to go in a minute because it's almost 2 o'clock. Doggone it. But I encourage you to watch and comment. I always read the comments. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. I don't always respond to them because sometimes sometimes y'all leave me amazing, like, in-depth comments, and I am at a loss. I do always read them. So, please do feel, I encourage comment and watching comment, and I will respond in kind. Let's see. But so how do you account for the meaning in, like, French, okay? When you're talking about the rights of man, what word do they use? Do they use the word in French for masculine human person? And if so, well, then we just don't have that fun little linguistic trick to fall back on. They're not referring, what's the word, And do they have the word mankind in French? It has that word man. I mean, they wouldn't, would they? Because French is Latin root language. So we wouldn't have that old Germanic influence. So I don't understand why, how would that, that doesn't account for all of it, like, at all. Men, women, children, and oxen are survivors of the Old English inflections. Right. But it's, I think, which comes from the Latin homo. The Latin word was like man in Old English. Okay, just like meant to be a person. Okay, yeah. Humanite is French. Humanité. Humanity. Okay. Boo, that's okay. I'll just have to try and watch the next one and enjoy what I can for now. Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta go here in a minute. I mean, I should probably be going now, but, like, I do want to settle this real quick. So, but in modern French is the word for masculine male person, right? So our simpler words come from the West German. Our bigger words come from the Old French, right? Yeah, English is fun. So that's an interesting drift. If the word homo, meaning person, has drifted in French to just mean man, and then they came up with another word for woman. Are they hearkening back to? I mean, they also have this thing in French. I know in particular, and probably other languages also, where if you're referring to a group of people and there are any men in it at all, you use the masculine collective noun for that group. And if it's a group of only females, only then do you use the feminine version of the noun. So I figure it's like that. That in French they say men, but then they would say ballet dancers if there was one man in the room, as opposed to ballerinas if it was just a bunch of women. So French is just a sexist language, I guess. French for woman is femme, right? From Latin femina, right? Which specifically meant biological adult, right? Okay. The terms milieu or matrona connotated a social role, right? Yeah, Spanish is like that too, I believe. Okay, so, like, they're just sexist languages overall. So maybe it's less of a question there grammatically, if you're just kind of accustomed to having yourself referred to en masse as a dude because there's one dude in the room, right? Maybe it sticks out less. There's scientific terms come from Latin and Greek, same for medical. Yep. Male supremacist. Yep. But so it isn't built into English in the same way, right? So I guess, like, from that perspective, would you say that That's why in French they have humanité, right? They don't go for mankind, which they could. It would be something, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, we only mark gender and pronouns, right? Which is why trans folk here obsess over pronouns so much. In Latin America and such, they also stress about adjectives. Right. Maybe maybe that's why there's no trans people allowed in Russia, because there you have to conjugate nouns too. I'm sorry. That was terrible. They have a lovely little view. Yeah, thank you. This is my happy spot. Um, of course, human ends with man. Right. Yeah. Uh, so like, gosh. I gotta go, y'all. It's after 2:00. That's just a coincidence. Haha. English got simplified over the centuries. They got rid of the old English inflections and gendered articles. Now some people want to make English more complicated again. I'm not in favor of that personally. Um, Mainly because we already play enough linguistic games as it is. I don't feel like we need to be opening up more. If English is going to be the ironically termed lingua franca of the 21st century, we don't need to go complicating it. I don't think that's a good idea. We have enough trouble as it is with that. So, I hate to end on an ad, but like it's 12. It's 2:06. Well, I mean, I guess I don't feel so bad because there's that 5 minutes from the beginning, right, where it was a little bit late. So, thanks so much for hanging out with me, you guys. This was a really fun one today. Like, I always say that, and it's always true. But this one was, I don't know, I don't know. I feel like you guys really kept it going in there in the chats, and that really does help. Like, I come here to visit with you guys. I definitely don't come here to sit and listen to myself talk because, like, shoot, I can do that by myself. I can do that without the camera running. Yeah. It was a fun hang. Hope you all have a good week. You too. The Scandinavians got rid of the old English gender roles and created the. I'm a fan of the. Have been for years. Go do you. I'll try to catch you next time. I'll probably go back and watch just because you said it was so fun. Yeah. We touched on some really interesting topics. I don't know. I feel like we always do, but I had fun doing it. Hopefully you'll have fun watching it. And yeah, check the space next week. I'll see you guys soon. Like, I do read the comments, so I encourage you to go and leave comments, and we can always chat over there. And I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye, guys.